Okay, so today I've been changing these door hinges over here to match the same finish as the door hardware, which is oil rubbed bronze. Uh, these are some kind of metal finish, so I want them to match. So what I did is I purchased these door hinges on Amazon. There's a particular brand that I like that is it's fairly affordable. So these particular doors have two hinges, one at the top, one at the bottom. Some doors, like in my other home, it has three hinges. So basically this is what it looks like, to give you an idea, and I'll explain what these door stoppers are. This is what it looks like when it's replaced, when this hinge is replaced with this one, and basically it matches the handles. The hinges that I bought were actually black, and I bought them on Amazon, pack of 30 hinges. They came with screws, and this is what they look like. They came with screws, and one thing to note is this is what the old hinge looks like when I removed it. Basically, to give you an idea, this door is where I replaced the hinges, and put on the light here, and that's what it looks like from the inside after being replaced. And it matches the other door hardware. This is the strike plate of the this door mechanism, and then when it's replaced, it should basically allow the door to close like it did previously. So anyway, to compare what they are, so these are standard sizes, and basically if I were to compare, this is what it looks like. It's a standard, I think this is a 3/8 of an inch round. You get different rounding radiuses. This is 3/8 of an inch. I think it says it's somewhere here, I'm not sure in the box, but basically it's 3/8 of an inch. I don't think it says it on the box here, but anyway, so this is 3/8 of an inch rounding. The idea is that this space is recessed into the door itself using some tool, so that the new one that you install should have the same rounding as the old one, so it fits in and recesses right in. So this is the old one, and if I were to compare the rounding, you'll see matches 3/8 of an inch, and usually these are standard sizes. So if you, I think it's something like 3.5 by 3.5 or something like that, 3.5 by 3.5 inches or something. These are standard sizes, and so if I place them side by side, you'll see that they're an exact fit. The only thing is that this finish is different, and I didn't really get an oil rubbed bronze. I got a black, but black kind of matches with oil rubbed bronze, and I got these at a very good price. I think I paid something less than $1 each for sure. I got a 30 pack for less than $30. And then the other thing to notice is that the screws that are supplied, these are the screws. If you compare it to the earlier screws, they're a bit longer, and I think that is intentional. It's so that, because when you're installing this, you're using the same holes in the wood that were previously used. So these longer screws will probably secure this much better as compared to if you were installing this on new wood. So these longer screws definitely do help. Okay, and so that's that. And then the other thing is the door stoppers. So I bought door stoppers to also match. Usually you have those long things that are put in the trim to stop the door from closing, but those are not adjustable. And the other thing about those is those are harder to handle with the vacuum cleaner. I'm trying to see an example here. I don't see one here, but those door stoppers are meant to stop the door from closing or from opening all the way out. This is to prevent it from banging into a wall or furniture. So instead I got these door stoppers, and these are also black to match the rest of the hardware, and these are adjustable, and I'll show how these are adjustable later. But basically these prevent the door from, if I open this door, you see how it prevents the door from going all the way open. So it gently, if you try to push the door, it'll gently only allow it to open up to a certain angle. So that's the angle it can allow this door to open up to. So this prevents it from, say if I had a piece of furniture here, I don't want the door to keep banging on the furniture. So I can adjust this by the screw to determine how much I would want to allow the door to open. So anyway, for today, I've already replaced this door, and I'd replaced some upstairs in the bedroom upstairs, 3 doors in the bedroom, and 1 door here I replaced. Now I'm going to replace the hinges for this closet door. This is actually like a laundry area with a washer and dryer behind, and then there's 2 more doors here. There's a restroom and another closet, which I'm going to do today. So this is the hardware that I'm going to replace, and this door stopper will come out with it. You can already see there's some damage here from the previous door stopper. Maybe somebody was yanking this door too hard, and this was meant to protect the door itself. There's usually a kind of a soft piece here. I don't know what happened to that, but basically this door stopper, I'm going to repair this trim here later on, but I'm going to replace this, and I'm going to replace the one down here. Now the trick to doing this is to do them one at a time. Earlier I had replaced these hinges in my other home, and I made the mistake of removing the entire door, and then it was a problem realigning the door and holding it up, and so that I can align the holes in the door to the hinges, and it was a real hassle. But an easy way to do it is to replace one hinge at a time. So when I'm replacing the upper hinge, the lower hinge is holding on to the door, and then once I've replaced this, the upper hinge will hold on to the door while I replace the lower one. So that's the plan. The only caveat to that is when I try to do this one at a time, when I removed one of the hinges to replace it, the door sort of tended to sag down. Even though I have it held here, it was sagging down a bit. And here there's not much space, but in the other doors there was more space. So basically it was making the door sag. And to prevent that problem, I bought these 2 jacks from Amazon. I think I paid $30 for a pair of jacks. And basically what these let you do is they're some kind of a door jack, or you can use it to jack anything in place. It's got these 2 2 arms that are movable, and one set of 3 arms that are secured. I mean, they're not secured, but they sit on the floor. And so what this jack does is these 2 arms hold up the door from the bottom, and prevent it from moving and prevent it from sagging while you're removing and changing those hinges. So it makes it easier to handle it. So the door basically does not move, and you can use the same holes and install the brackets in place of the older brackets in the same holes. So these two door jacks is what I purchased. I forget what they're called, but they're basically they're available on Amazon. I think I paid about, yeah, something like $38 for a pair of two. But they seem to work, but not, I mean, they're okay for a makeshift solution. So I'm going to show how to use these. Basically, you have to first, this is the switch to reset this, and it makes it go all the way to the bottom, these two arms, movable arms. And then now this is ready to be put under a door. Now I find it's best to use both. You could also use one of them to just jack up one side of the door, but if you use two, I'll show you the benefit of using two. So first things first, we open the door that we want to replace the hinge for. Now the thing to keep in mind is the screws for the hinge are on this side, so you have to open the door in such a way that you get this flattens out as much as it can. So right now it's not flattening out, it's not moving out more than this because it's limited probably by this door stopper. So I'm going to adjust this door stopper to allow the door to open up as much as it can. So basically you just keep turning this. When you turn this out, it minimizes the space between the door stopper and the trim, and minimizing the space allows the door to open to a maximum degree. So I'm going to open this all the way out. Yeah, I'm going to the screw, basically adjust the screw. I've adjusted it to be maximum, allow the door to open to a maximum degree, and you'll see now it's allowing it to open quite a bit actually. Okay, and then the other thing to do is, in order to use the jacks, so now, okay, the other thing is I'm going to put on the closet light here, so you can see, I have enough light to see. Now this is a good enough amount of access to all the screws from both angles, so it makes it easy to remove the screws and to install the new brackets. Now to use these jacks, I do the same for this. I reset this by pressing this, and goes all the way down. Now to use a jack, you should use one on each side, so the door, basically if you use just one jack, the door can still sway a bit on the other side. But other than this jack holding the door up, it also serves to hold the door in place at the angle at which you've kept it open. So maybe one jack I put on this side and the other jack on the other side. So for the one on this side, there's usually limited space, so but I do have space here. I'm gonna take this jack up, and then all I do is just keep pressing this. It's a spring over here, and it expands the spring as you'll feel some tension, and it looks like this is enough tension to keep it. So jack the door up, and you can test by just trying to move the door a bit, and it should generally be held in place, although if you push really hard it'll come out. And so that is enough for this side. And then on this side I'm going to put another jack over here so it holds it up like this. And do the same. Okay, so this is pretty, I mean, it's not solidly held in place, but it's good enough. It does move a bit, but it's good enough for our purposes. We just needed to put it in place. Next, what I would suggest is to get this ladder. Basically, when you're working on this top, you don't want to work at it from this angle. You want to work at it from the same angle so you get enough leverage from your arm, because you'll need a lot of strength. I find that the screws that are in the door frame are easy to install, but the screws that are going into the door are much harder to install. You need a lot more strength and force, muscle power to, and also don't use a power drill. I would recommend that you use a screwdriver and just use muscle strength to install these screws. Otherwise you might land up stripping the screws with a power tool, and you need a lot of strength to push in the new screws in the same holes. So that's what I would suggest. So I would suggest getting a ladder like this one here, and so you can access the this hinge well. And then the other thing is keep all your hardware ready. So here I have my hinge. I'm going to keep it, actually I'm going to keep it on top of this ladder here, and then I'm going to use the right screwdriver. Make sure that the tip matches the head of the screw, so you don't you need a lot of strength, so it has to fit very well. So this is a Phillips head in this case, but you also get different types of Phillips heads. So try to find one that actually matches very well and creates a lot of basically it should hold on to the screw really well. So try to make sure of that. And that's it. I'm ready to install it. I'll get the ladder and I'm going to do one at a time, and then we'll take a look. Okay, so I brought the ladder here ready, and then so that I can climb up and access this hinge at a good angle. Yes, so now I can begin to remove this hinge. Now when you remove the last screw of the hinge, it's gonna fall, so you have to keep a hand ready to hold it. But basically I'm just gonna loosen these screws counterclockwise. Now in this particular case these screws seem very loose, but I don't have to worry because I've noticed that they do hold on. The new screws do hold on pretty well. So I'm not gonna video this whole thing because it's pretty much the same. That's the old screw hole. I'm going to remove all these 6 screws, and for this side I remove it at a different angle, like this. And it helps if you hold on to the door with the other hand, the opposite hand from which you're unscrewing it. Same for when you're screwing it back. It's best to hold on. So I'm not going to continue to film because I need my other hand. But basically this is the top of the door, and yeah, also this is a piece of hardware that's used to, I forget what it's called, but the recess is inside. It's like a roller ball, and it creates tension. When you close the door, it snaps right into place. So that's another piece of hardware, but I don't think I'm going to replace this, because even though it's not black, you don't really see this. But the part where this does engage, I might replace that, which is this part here. And anyway, this is all old and rusted, so I'm going to use a black replacement for this. It's like a striker plate, but it's not called a strike plate. It's called something else. I forget what it's called, but I'm going to replace that with a black one. So yeah, I'll continue removing the screw, and along with this hinge, this door stopper will come out with it. You'll see how this door stopper is actually installed as part of it goes below this pin. This pin actually holds the two parts of the hinge together. So when I'm installing the door stopper, I'll show how to remove this. And yeah, and so for now I'm just going to remove this hinge. Yeah, so I've almost removed all the screws. This is the last screw of the hinge, and you see how it is coming out. You can see the part of the wood that has been recessed, basically the part of the frame and the door that has been recessed. I think you use a jig to recess it. Basically now, as I remove this, it's going to come out, so I have to be careful because it might fall. I'm going to keep it back here. It needs to come out more. Okay, so now it is come out. I have to take it out. Take it out from the top, because it's also got this door stopper. There, it's come out. And I'm gonna place this down here with the door stopper. Now what happened is, one of these screws was much longer, so much longer than the other screws, and this screw was in this middle position on the door frame. So I'm thinking maybe there might have been some issue with this door being loose, and maybe the previous owner of the home used this much bigger screw to keep it more secure. But I'm going to just see how things go. I have longer screws anyway to begin with, so maybe that'll be good enough. So now I'm going to start installing the new door hinge, or the new door bracket. The thing to keep in mind is, when you install it, you want the pin head, this is the pin head is flat, to be on top. And so this is the bottom of the pin, as you can see, and this is the top. And the other thing is, when you install it, you have to install it with this hinge being in the closed position where it's completely flat. This is because this represents the door being completely closed. When the door closes, this part is attached to the door frame and this part to the door, and so think of it as the door completely closing. And the reason I'm saying this is because if you install it the other way around, from this angle, this completely closes. But from the other angle, it's limited in the, it can only go this far. So if I install it like this by mistake, then what happens is that the door is only going to close, it's not going to completely close. It's only, this hinge is only going to allow the door to go this far. So you have to make sure that you're installing it in the right way, which is like this, flat, and then you place it. There are two parts to the door hinge, the door frame part and the part of the door. What I like to do is, in this particular case, I found since it's harder to, you need a lot more muscle and to install the screws on the door part. I like to install the part with the frame completely, the 3 screws, and then go to the door, because it somehow holds the door better and gives it more, it applies your pressure and strength better when the part for the frame is already attached. So this is basically the recess, and this is where it'll go. First thing, you have to make sure that it actually fits into the recess, which, as you can see, it fits and the screws align. So this way I know. And then you have to hold it in place with one hand while you screw it using the other hand. The other option is you could use some painter's tape to attach it, to keep it in place and then screw it in. But for me, it works if I just hold it with one hand and screw it in. And then once you install one screw, it kind of holds it in anyways. So that's good enough for me. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to install this hinge in the bracket. Okay, so I installed one of the screws on top, and this is enough to at least secure the hinge in place. For the other screw, I'll do the other side. I just push it in to hold it in place like this. And then I get my screwdriver. I want to make sure you're at a straight angle, and then you just tighten it in. So like I said, the part with the door frame is much easier to install. It doesn't need much strength. But for some reason I found the part with the door was much harder, needed a lot more strength. So I'm glad I'm at this angle, because it gives me leverage of my arm, to use my arm strength. So there we go. This is attached and it recesses really well into the recess of the frame, because it's a exact match and these are standard sizes. And finally the middle hole, I push it in a bit. And it does hold, it seems to hold really well. Like there's enough, I can feel enough tension in the screw that it's that it's holding up pretty well. This middle screw has slightly less tension, but it doesn't matter. Actually now it's got enough tension. And it's fighting forces of gravity more. So the tension up and down is more important than the horizontal, and the vertical tension is more important than the horizontal tension. So anyway, so this part is installed. Now this part is loose, like you can see. Now this is where you need a lot more strength. For some reason, it's harder to put in these screws in the part that goes into the door. Even though I'm pretty sure this is a hollow core door. It's not a solid wood door. But still, for some reason, it seems harder. So now the way to do this is to hold the door with one hand. If you're right-handed, then hold the door with your left hand and use your right hand to align this with the holes and the recess. You might have to push the door around a little bit I'm not, yeah, like left and right, you might have to adjust it to adjust the holes, and you might have to push it also up and down a bit to make this bracket align with the door. And once you do that, then put in the first screw while keeping this door held in place with your left hand. And then once you put in the first screw, it'll be enough to hold the door, and you can put on the other screws more easily. So that's how I would do it. And so that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to hold this side of the door and then first align it. So I'm going to also look at it at an angle so you can make sure you can see the screws and make sure that the screws are aligned. So that's what I'm going to do right now. Okay, so now I'm going to continue installing it. I have basically put in one of the screws on the door side. That's enough to hold the door in place, and the lower hinge is also holding the door in place, of course. And I'm going to push this in a bit just to create a little bit of tension. And so it's sticking out the screw, but I'm now going to use the screwdriver to tighten this. And this requires a lot more strength. So I will probably not film all of this. See, this is the part where it starts to get really tight. Let's see. It's not completely all the way in, so I'm gonna use more force. And this is where the screwdriver also slips on the thread, so I'm gonna stop this video. I'm gonna hold on to the door with my left hand here like this, and then continue to finish screwing this in place so that it's completely flush and inside the hole. Okay, so I finished installing the door side of the screws, and now they're completely flush and countersunk. Basically, if you see, it's not popping out, and it shouldn't pop out because if there's no space or hardly any space between the door and the frame, you don't want a screw sticking out. That'll prevent the door from closing. So the top part is done. Now I'm gonna do the bottom one. It's gonna be the same exact procedure, except I won't need a ladder. So see how the top one is done, and I'm gonna move the ladder out of the way. This is the old hinge, and I'm gonna do the exact same procedure for the bottom one. The door is still mostly held in place by this by those two jacks on either side of the door, so that still works. And these two jacks make it possible for one person to do this job as opposed to another person holding the door, and so that works really well. Now I'm going to remove this hinge at the bottom, and I'm going to keep the other hinge ready for installation with the screws. And this I'm gonna keep it near the old hinge. I'm gonna need my screwdriver. There we go. 6 screws. I'm gonna go ahead and now the other thing is I may have to repaint some of these door frames. if that is the case, like if there is, this one seems okay, there's not much wear, but some of the door frames, if they've got too much wear, I may have to repaint them. And I thought about that. I'm gonna protect these hinges or these brackets using painter's tape. Obviously you can see the previous owner did not really do a good job because there's all paint somewhere all over the hinge. So I'm gonna do it that way. Earlier I was thinking maybe I should install the hinges only after it's been repainted, but I thought, you know, that's too much to wait, and I have free time now, so might as well install the hinges now and then protect them when I'm repainting. So basically now I'm going to remove this bracket just like I removed the one on the top of the door, and I'll continue this video after I've installed this new bracket. Okay, so I've installed this bottom bracket or bottom hinge, and now I'm ready to test to see. I mean, the door should close properly with no gaps, because I've basically, these brackets should match the older brackets. These are the older brackets removed with 2 long screws for the middle holes of the door frame. Anyway, so now we're ready to try it out to make sure the door closes properly and also opens properly. So I'm going to disengage these door jacks, press this, slide it out, and on the other side do the same. The other side is actually already loose, probably came out with all those vibrations and all that. So I'm gonna put this on the side here, and then let's see. It's a little bit tight on this top side, like you can see it's, but it looks like there's already some pressure or tension against the other door. So it looks like there is some imperfections, because as you can see there's not any space in the top, but as you go down there is the space that increases. So it could be, you know, some distance of this bracket was somehow a little different, but I know that there is a tool that lets you adjust these hinges. I think it's a wrench kind of a thing, and but the main thing to test is whether the door opens and closes. So I'm going to actually keep this door open so I can just test this door in isolation, and let's see if it closes properly. It does close properly and opens properly, and that should be good. Those are the newly installed brackets. Ones from the, what they look like from the inside, and then from the outside. And let's close the door again, hold the handle, and that's what they look like from the outside. Now this thing was meant to pad that door stopper, so I'm wondering whether maybe I should remove it now, because I don't need this. I'm going to add a door stopper on the bottom, and I won't need this pad. But then I'm thinking, if I remove this, it might take some of the paint out with it, because this might be like a 2-sided sticky tape. So I don't know if I want to do that. Plus I'm going to have to repair this damage on the trim caused by that door stopper. So anyway, that's what it looks like. Now I'll be doing this second door in this 2-door configuration, But before that, I'm gonna I'm gonna add a door stopper here. And the door stopper that I purchased from Amazon was by this company called Design House, and the model number is 181800, and they were pretty inexpensive and quite worth it in my opinion. So I'm gonna install this door stopper basically to complete this hinge thing. Okay, so that's the door stopper. The way to install this is this part with the screw has to go on the door frame, and this has to go on the door. So depending on the orientation, like in this case, this is how it will go. So this part, the fixed part, will go to the door, and the part of the screw will go to the trim. And in some places I see that they install the door stopper on the top. Personally, I prefer to install it at the bottom. I don't know, maybe visually it looks better at the bottom, I'm not sure. Maybe I'll change it in the future, but for now I'm going to install it in the bottom. And my thinking is, when you're walking around, what you see at the eye level is at the top, and you don't want to see a door stopper as an eyesore at the eye level. So that's the reason why I chose to install it at the bottom. So that's what I'll do now. So the way to install this door stopper is to remove this pin. And to remove the pin, what I found is the best thing to do is use another pin from the pin actually comes out from this hinge itself. So this is the same pin, but it's from another hinge. And so to use this to hammer out the existing pin from the bottom, using this piece, the narrower part of the pin, using a hammer from the bottom, and then when it comes out from the top, you can remove the pin, and that's where this door stopper goes. It goes in the space, and then the pin goes on top, and then this plastic piece actually is used to hold it in place, or to create tension, I suppose. So that's what I'm gonna do now. Okay, so I'm gonna install this door stopper here, and basically I'm gonna take this is the door stopper. I'm gonna basically hammer out this existing pin from the door hinge using another pin, and I'm using the narrow part, not the flat top part of the pin, but the bottom. I'm hammering it out from the bottom using this hammer. You have to make sure that it's aligned centrally, so it's actually hitting the pin itself and not the hinge. So just keep tapping. It may take a few tries to get it right, to center the pin. There, I think I've centered it. Careful not to hit your fingers. Ideally they suggest a nail, but I think a nail is too sharp to use, might damage the pin or the finish of the pin. There we go. You can see it going inside. You want to make sure not to hammer it too much, otherwise what might happen is your pin that you're using as a tool will go in, and then it'll be a problem getting that one out. But just enough, you can see it's popping up there. And then you remove it like this, and then you put in this plastic piece like this. Then you orient your door stopper such that the pad should always be facing, one pad should be facing the trim, the other part should be facing the door, and the part of the screw should be facing the should be on the door frame. You put this in, put this through the pin, and then sometimes you might have to, like when you put this in, it may not go in. Right now it did, but sometimes it does not go in, and you may have to wiggle the door because these the interlocking hinges would have disaligned, and then you have to move the door around a bit. But now that it's gone in most of the way, I just can lightly hammer it in. And there we go. Now it's all set, and then you can adjust this. I'm going to adjust this to allow the door to open as much as it can, like this. So you allow the door to open as much as it can, I suppose. There we go. And then basically I'm going to test this. So we're done with this part. And now we just have to test to make sure that the door works, and the hinge does the door stopper does its job. So basically just gonna try to open the door and then see until where the door is allowed to. That's the maximum it can open. But it turns out before it actually even hits that point, it hits this trim here, so it's not able to go past this trim anyways. But anyway, that's the door stopper, and this should be good enough. And I'm done with basically replacing both the hinges, the door hinges, and adding the door stopper. So I'm done with this door, and now I'm going to do this other door, which is the second door of this laundry area closet. So yeah, that should be it for today, and I have a lot more pieces to go.